You're watching tutorial after tutorial online, but somehow the skills still don't click. Most likely the problem is not you. See, most tutorials I come across, and I see hundreds of them, are simply visual descriptions of the final move. In the case of a Macaco, they'll tell you, start in a squat, swing your arm back, jump, and there you go. A Macaco. And I'm honestly fed up with this. It's literally like telling someone when learning how to cook, take a couple of ingredients, throw them together and make it taste nice. Yes, but how? Most adults don't need another explanation of what a skill looks like. They need a roadmap. They need to understand which positions actually make up the movement, how to build the strength and mobility to own them, what they should feel like, and which progressions bridge the gap before attempting the full skill. And that's exactly what we'll be doing in this video, looking at the principles that make all movements learnable, so you can stop guessing and start understanding how to finally progress towards the skills that you want. Here is the part that almost no tutorial talks about. Humans don't learn movement by simply copying shapes. We learn movement by solving movement problems. The Russian scientist Nikolai Bernstein described this beautifully as repetition without repetition. Every attempt is slightly different because your nervous system is constantly searching for a better solution. And that's exactly why simply watching someone perform a skill is really enough. As adults, there is many obstacles standing in between seeing a movement and being able to actually perform it. And there may be the fear of falling, a lack of strength in the specific joint angles the skill requires, limited mobility, or simply no motor understanding of what the movement is supposed to feel like in your own body. And that's also why the work of people like Moshe Feldenkrais is so fascinating. He wasn't interested in forcing movement, he was interested in teaching people how to feel movement, how to notice subtle differences, explore possibilities, and let better coordination emerge naturally. In other words, movement is something you discover, not something that you simply memorize. So if a tutorial only tells you to put your hands here, jump there, and land like this, it's missing the most important part. It isn't teaching you how to solve the movement. A great tutorial should help you understand the key positions, build the physical capacities they require, give you meaningful progressions, and gradually let your nervous system piece everything together. Because remember, movement learning is not simply about copying someone's movement, it's giving yourself the tools so you can actually solve them. Instead of leaving all of this as abstract theory, let's actually take a look at how all of this process plays out in real practice. And for that, we can use one of the dream skills for many people entering soft acrobatics, the elusive Macaco. Just by observing the movement and identifying its key positions, we already get a strong understanding of the mobility, strength, and coordination required. One of the most important positions is the one-arm bridge shape, a position that also appears throughout many other acrobatic movement patterns. Here, the shoulders are pushed into deep extension, requiring mobility and strength in a range that many people are initially unfamiliar with. This can be prepared progressively through exercises such as the bridge wall rotation, which teaches the body how to open and stabilize within that position. At the same time, the hips need to extend powerfully while driving through the balls of the feet. Elevated sissy squats are a great way to isolate this pattern and build awareness for the coordination required. But acrobatic movements are not static by nature. They're highly dynamic. So once we understand the key positions, we need to find ways of bringing them into motion. This is where movements like Macaco reach jumps become incredibly valuable. They don't just test whether you can hold the position statically, but begin introducing core mechanics of the actual skill itself. Once we've studied the mobility and strength requirements and put it to dynamic application, it's time to find the right progression for you. Because just like you wouldn't kick into a handstand and expect to balance immediately, you also can't simply throw yourself backwards into a Macaco and hope for the best. A much more appropriate starting point might be something as simple as low circular kicks. And even here, if we think back to the hierarchy of movement freedom, the movement only truly works when performed with awareness. Understanding how your weight shifts when pressure transfers and how the body organizes itself itself throughout the motion. And because movement skill learning is so complex, approaching it with many tools you can choose from instead of just relying on one method is extremely helpful. One of the most effective learning methods is working with regressions, easier versions of a movement that will preserve the core ability of the final skill. By practicing these simpler versions, you gradually build what are often called mental representations. These are deeply ingrained movement building blocks that become more stable over time and later transfer into more advanced progressions. Another powerful method is using external objects as constraints to guide learning. For example, placing a small hurdle behind you during a macaco creates an incentive for the body to organize itself differently in order to clear the obstacle. Instead of consciously controlling every tiny detail, the body begins adapting automatically to the challenge presented. This process is often referred to as self-organization, when many different parts of a system intuitively coordinate themselves together. Through combining all of these different learning methods, in the end we create a process that is not only super effective, but also very enjoyable. One that really understands and hones how movement learning works on a neurological level. And this exact approach can be applied to almost every movement skill out there. Understanding and training key positions, adding dynamics, finding the right progression for you, all that using different learning methods that support you on your journey. But the process doesn't stop here, because in the end, I don't care if you can copy moves like a robot or a machine. I want you to be able to move with ease, freedom, adaptability, and creativity. Over time, we begin connecting movements together, transitioning between patterns, and building an increasingly rich vocabulary of movement. Because to me, in the end, that's what this practice is really about. It's not about collecting as many skills as possible or ticking tricks off a list. Those skills will come, and many of them will eventually go again if you stop practicing them. What lasts is something much more valuable. You begin to understand how your body learns, how to approach unfamiliar movements with curiosity instead of fear, and how to move with a sense of ease rather than constant effort. Over time, confidence stops coming from knowing a specific technique and starts coming from trusting your own ability to adapt. Movement becomes less about reproducing patterns and more about expressing yourself through them. You stop asking, "Can I do this move?" and start wondering, "What else can I create from here?" For me, that's what a truly holistic movement practice looks like. Not one that revolves around mastering isolated techniques, but one that develops capability, adaptability, creativity, and confidence all at the same time. And maybe the most beautiful part of it is that it reconnects us with something we naturally had as children. The joy of exploring, playing, and moving simply because it feels good. That's the kind of movement practice I want to help you build. Now, with all of this in mind, you still might be wondering where to even start. First off, have a go at my Starting Acrobatics playlist here on YouTube. I've bundled together many videos highlighting different aspects of soft acrobatics. Simply click up there and you'll get a first overview of this beautiful practice. But then, most importantly, and I'm super proud of this, I've finally created a 40 minutes free masterclass on literally all things acrobatics, going deeper into skill learning, which categories of movements there exist, which I propose to practice for rich and holistic practice, how much mobility and strength you need, and much, much more. It's completely for free. Simply go to the video description or the top pinned comment, sign up for free, and have a go. And see you in there.